We are now halfway through the regular season, and I have 10 predictions for the second half. But get down in the comment section below and let me know your predictions for the second half of the NBA season. From breakouts, predictions, fallouts, big trades, you name it. Get in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Deni Avdija and the Portland Trailblazers finished the season as one of the league's best teams. Not only do I think Deni goes on to be a first-time All-Star, win the Most Improved Player award, but I think he also can lead this young core to the playoffs, which would be a first since the 2020-2021 season. When you look at the Western Conference, it's top-heavy, and really, you have a lot of great teams in the middling of the seeding there in the Western Conference. Teams like Phoenix, teams like the Lakers at this point in the season. But I think the top 7 teams are locked in the Western Conference. So that leaves that key precious 8 seed for the last chance to make the playoffs. And when you look at the teams in that bubble, you have Memphis, you have the Clippers, the Golden State Warriors, and the Portland Trailblazers. A lot of those teams have a lot of questions. A lot of those teams are older. But the Blazers are young, they're fun, and they are good against the teams in that bubble. For example, against the Golden State Warriors, which at full health, I would view as the Blazers' biggest threat. The Blazers are 3-0 against the Warriors this season, and some of those games have come without Jrue Holiday. Not to mention, on top of that, the Warriors have one of the hardest schedules remaining. So for the Blazers, you're young, you're fun, and Deni is a first-time All-Star, but can you finish it strong? I believe you do. I believe you go to the playoffs and take on the Thunder. King Khan not only sets a new rookie three-point record, but he demolishes that three-point record and sets it for some years to come. As of right now, the all-time record for most threes in a season by a rookie is Keegan Murray. He set that a few years back with 206 makes for the entire season. Right now, Con Knipple is making 3.5 threes a game, which puts him on pace, if he were to play 80 games, for 280. That is over, 60, 70 more than the previous record. Con Knipple. There's a reason why I'm going to call him King Con, because he's going to be on this the top of this list for so many years to come. He's going to set this record with flying colors. Now, this is no knock to the team and their title hopes and what they can do in the postseason, but Oklahoma City, I think, will sweep the big 2 NBA player awards. That is MVP and that is Defensive Player of the Year. But not really because their players deserve it more so than everyone else in the league, but because of the rules that were set in place just a few years ago. Shea, I think, will win back-to-back MVPs because Nikola Jokic, Shea's biggest competition, is now going to be out for the next month. He's not going to qualify for the 65-game mark, meaning Shea's pretty much a shoo-in to win this award for the second year in a row. Now, for Defensive Player of the Year, Chet Holmgren, I think, is now walking into his first ever Defensive Player of the Year because Victor Wembanyama, the runaway winner, has also missed a decent amount of time this year, and he's projected to probably miss that 65-game mark. So Chet, Shea, they will win the 2 biggest awards this season. And look, at the end of the day, the Thunder are still going to be the number 1 seed in a loaded Western Conference, so they deserve it, just not more than other players. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with Jason Tatum. On one end, I like him because he's my birthday twin, and he also has kind of now the same nickname. But I also hate him for that reason because there's receipts that this channel and the name of this channel was created before the nickname was bestowed upon Jason Tatum. So, hey, he's kind of taken over the nickname. Regardless, for this prediction, I think that Jason Tatum will return to the court for the Boston Celtics in late February or early March, right around his birthday. And I do think that if he's fully healthy and if he can ramp up with ample time before the playoffs, I think that they have to be the favorite to come out and win the Eastern Conference. They're currently, the Boston Celtics, the 3 seed. They have a top 2 defense. They're slipping as of now, but they were like 8-2, 9-1 in their last 10 as of late. I just think that if he can return to form, they should be the favorites to yet again win the Eastern Conference and maybe set up a star-studded finals against the Nuggets and or the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now let's stay in that East playoff picture. I do think that an upset will happen, whether if it's the Detroit Pistons as the 1 seed, the Knicks as the 2 seed, or the Celtics at the 3. I think one of them will lose their first round series. When you look at a team like Detroit, they have a lack of outside shooting, that lack of a secondary closer if Cade Cunningham has an off night. And you also, hey, as a Cavaliers fan, JB Bickerstaff has proven, whether with the Pistons and or the Cavaliers, he's not the greatest at making in-game adjustments, especially in the postseason, so that could come back to bite them. For New York, look, you have questions around Brunson, questions around Cat, and their ability to be key defenders in big-time moments and big-time playoff series. They are going to get picked on, and this year, the defense has actually taken a bit of a step back. But also, the biggest thing with the Knicks is winning on the road. Right now, they're one of the worst teams in the league as far as top-tier contenders on the road this season. So if they can't win on the road, that puts an awfully lot of pressure on this team to win every game in the Garden. And for Boston, if they don't have Tatum, if he doesn't return to the court, or if he returns and he's more of a negative more than a plus, given he's coming back from such a severe injury, that could come back to haunt him in the long run. But I say that to say about those top teams, you have teams like the Cavaliers, who were preseason favorites to win the East. The Orlando Magic, if they can find out how to mesh together Paolo, Franz, and Desmond Bane and really stay healthy, especially with how Anthony Black is playing, if they fall into that play-in range, I think the Orlando Magic can give some of these top teams a lot of fits. The Miami Heat are always dangerous with Spo, and the Milwaukee Bucks have Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think all of these top three teams can match up with one of these bottom four teams that I just mentioned, meaning I think we're going to get at least one first-round upset in the Eastern Conference. Now, Trae Young getting traded kind of dims this one and kind of led me to this realization that this trade deadline should have a lot of names circulating, but I think no big moves will be pulled. It's not going to be Luka's season like it was last year. I think it's going to be a very boring trade deadline with guys like Giannis potentially on the move, Ja Morant, Lauri Markkanen. It seems like all of those guys, whether by contract or just loyalty to the city, they aren't going to be traded anytime soon. I think the biggest names that we could see on the move are maybe a Michael Porter Jr., a Jeremy Grant, a Drew Holiday kind of a player. But like I talked about earlier, if the Blazers are moving and they're really progressing towards the playoffs, I can't see why they would want to move those key championship veterans like a Drew Holiday. So maybe Michael Porter, but overall, it's going to be a boring deadline in my projection. Now, after that deadline, I think we're going to see a lot of teams absolutely aggressively tanking for one of the top three picks in this year's draft, because it is projected, unlike recent years, to be a loaded draft class and a top-heavy draft class, meaning with guys like Darren Peterson, guard out of Kansas, AJ DeBonsa, forward/guard out of BYU, and then you have Cameron Boozer, of course, son of Carlos Boozer, out of Duke. Of course, he's a forward/a big man. Three big names, three guys that are coming out this year, and they could make a big impact on one of these bad franchises. And when you have teams like the Indiana Pacers, the Sacramento Kings, Washington Wizards, and New Orleans Pelicans, who are all below 11 wins so far, outside of the Wizards, I can't see those other teams winning more than 15 games this season. I think, honestly, all four of them might tank or rest some of their players, in Washington's case like Trae Young, to get one of these guys that potentially can change their franchise. Now, if Nikola Jokic can return to form, I know he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, maybe even a month, but if he can return and get his feet back under him before the playoffs, I think the Nuggets are still my NBA Finals favorites, as there's questions around the Thunder, there's questions around the youth of the San Antonio Spurs. Can they go the length? They're in multiple, possibly lengthy playoff series in a loaded Western Conference. There's questions around those top dogs. But for the Nuggets, I know that they're hungry. I know they have the best player in the world and a pretty good core around them. So again, if Denver can stay as a top 4 seed, stay afloat, get some confidence for some of these younger players with increased opportunity until Jokic returns, again, no doubt about it, the Nuggets are still my favorite to go and win the NBA Finals. Now, this one hurts me because it might be his last season. I love Luka Doncic, and that's well documented on the channel, but he might have another early playoff exit, and that might cause some change on this LA Lakers roster. But the reason why I think that they are going to be a first-round exit yet again is really not really their fault, but kind of is. They have a lot of defensive questions, whether if it's Luka's ability as an individual defender, LeBron's effort overall, but the overall effort of this team defensively in general is very below average. Right now, they're 17th in the league in overall defense as far as points per game allowed. They just really don't have that true defensive anchor in general. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a big man, though I have it labeled here. It could be like a Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks is the defensive anchor for the Phoenix Suns. The Lakers don't have a player like that with at least that much of an impact on that side of the court. So with their defensive woes, with their offensive mishaps and I guess inconsistencies, and the fact that they are in a loaded Western Conference, I just can't see them beating one of the top 4 seeds as of now. And finally, we'll close off in LA, but with the little brother. The LA Clippers right now are 16 and 23. They're the 11th seed in the Western Conference, 8 and 2 in their last 10, which is good. I do think that they will make the play-in. However, I don't think they will make the playoffs. When you look at Memphis, when you look at the Warriors, the Portland Trailblazers, who I'm very high on, I think it's going to be very tough sledding ahead because the Clippers have a tough schedule remaining for the second half of the season, and they already have an uphill battle to climb, again, in a loaded conference. I do think that they have a chance to get out of that group due to the veteranship they have, but I'm rolling with Portland. And that means, unless James Harden is traded, he will miss the playoffs for the first time in his Hall of Fame career, which is unfortunate, man. It's never, you always want to have new experiences. But in James Harden's case, this would be a bad first experience. But that is it, man. Leave your thoughts and predictions in the comment section below. Quickly, before we get out of here, I want to thank you at home for making it to this point in the video, but also for helping us get to where we've gone in 2025. Of course, now into 2026, we're on the road to 20,000 subscribers, and we can't get there without you. So, thank you for stopping here on today's video. And hey, Thursday, we have our divisional round playoff predictions in the NFL, and that's episode 350.